speaking of unspeakable pain, your movie today is part Western, part monster movie, and all bad. Enter the nightmare-fueled world of the Beast of Hollow Mountain.
Kinga, I need some water.
Time we watch season 11, episode 5, The Beast of Hollow Mountain.
Where it turns out that the beast was man all along. Oh, no, sorry, it was a dinosaur. It was a dinosaur.
But first, do we have any follow-up?
Well, I think you have a little bit of follow-up because after we talked about Final Justice last time and talked about the films of Graydon Clark, you got so excited about a film of his that Adam had recommended when we did Angel's Revenge that you went and watched it, or tried to watch it?
Oh, no. I watched it.
Was it as good as Adam promised?
I can't say that I went back and listened to the episode where Adam made the promises of what the uninvited would be, but there were things that certainly lived up to the description that you gave. There was a evil cat monster on a yacht killing people. So all of those promises came true.
Not just people, very, very rich people.
Oh, yes, there were some very, very rich people. And it was the 80s, so there were some very beautiful people with big hair, too. And there was weird sexual politics going on all over the place. And the guy who was super rich was, in fact, like a Ponzi scheme hedge fund manager type guy. And he definitely got what he deserved from the scariest cat imaginable.
That was George Kennedy's character?
No, he was the accomplice to the hedge fund manager.
Oh, okay.
The important part was the cat. It was a fluffy, cute little orange kitty that escaped from a bioresearch place, and it had an evil cat inside its belly that when it got hungry, the cat barfed it out of its insides, like it expelled the evil cat inside to go and kill all of these people. And then the evil cat would come back inside of the fluffy, cute cat. So no one would know who had done the killing.
So it was like a xenomorph or something? A xenomeowth?
No, because it didn't kill the cat.
Oh, okay. So it was just a hairball.
Yeah, it was like a hairball that would then be sucked back in.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't like Alien, where the alien bursts forth and then it leaves behind the, consumed body like a parasite. It would go back in. And it was, oh my God, like the barfing scenes were horrific. You have a cat, you know what hairballs are like. This was worse. This was worse. It was like a living hairball that was going to kill you. And if it scratched you or bit you, it's like it infected you. So you had these like weird bubble ripple things that happened in your blood and like made you burst. It was gross. It was awful.
All right. So was the movie about the killer hairball cat taking out these rich 80s people, was that in fact the best of the Graydon movies that you watched?
Oh my God, no, absolutely wacko, hands down. Best. I'm not sure who Joe Don would have been in The Uninvited. Maybe the cat. Maybe he could have been the captain of the boat. But the captain of the boat was a hot lady because she had to get with the scientist guy at the end. So, I don't know.
I believe he did ask Joe Don if he was available, but Joe Don's filming schedule was too packed at that point. So Uninvited was the film that Graydon made after Final Justice, but Final Justice was the last time he got to work with Joe Don.
Oh, that kind of makes me sad because they love each other.
Well, that's how the world works, I'm afraid.
I guess so. That's so sad.
That's so sad. Speaking about sad things, let's talk about today's episode, The Beast of Hollow Mountain. This time we watched Season 11, Episode 5, The Beast of Hollow Mountain. Panchito is a young boy growing up in a small cattle ranching town in Mexico in the days of the Wild West. Though they probably don't call it that in Mexico, huh? Anyway, life is tough for little Panchito. His mother died, and his father, Pancho, has turned to the bottle for solace. But there are several people in town looking out for the boy, including the mayor's daughter, a woman named Sarita. But the boy is determined, and when one of the local ranchers, an American named Jimmy, when Jimmy's cowhands all up and quit, Panchito is there, insisting he and his father will do the work, and promising to keep his dad sober. Now, Jimmy's cattle keep going missing, or showing up dead in the swamps around Hollow Mountain. Is this because of an ancient curse, or because of foul play? After all, Sarita's fiancé, Don Enrique, has had it in for Jimmy, because Jimmy and Sarita have been awfully friendly together. One day, Panchito's father decides to search the swamp for the missing cattle, and he never comes home. Jimmy and his platonic business partner friend Felipe look for Pancho, but discover that the man has died. They decide not to tell Panchito because that would only upset him. Now, I don't know what their long game here is. Maybe they're hoping Panchito would, forget he had a dad eventually, but, anyway. Now it's time for the local festival, featuring a parade of people in, like papier-mâché heads or something. And also, it's Sarita's wedding day. But Panchito isn't having any fun. He's still anxious about his father. And so he borrows a horse and heads off to the swamp to look for Papa. Sarita, who is having second thoughts about her husband-to-be since he's being such a dick to Jimmy, she goes after the boy, and the rest of the main characters follow. Panchito heads straight to Hollow Mountain, and what do you know? Turns out there's a beast there. Specifically, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, or, something like that. That's who's been gobbling up all the cattle. Jimmy leads a big fight against the T-Rex, and he saves Panchito's life. The end. No, none of the characters' plot arcs have been resolved at all, but the dinosaur is dead, so quickly, the end.
Meanwhile, on the Satellite of Love, Jonah, Tom, and Crow are embracing their inner artist with painting day on the SOL. Tom's reality is a little more cubist than expected, and Crow has the makings of a true artist. Yes, he has passed that test we have all seen in magazines with the turtle and the pirate. Good work, Crow. Invention exchange, and it is like Jonah is singing my song. I'm not at a disco right now and could use Jonah's disco cannon to launch a disco ball into my reality. Perfection. Kinga wants the Titanic to have a hot water faucet in order to combat that nasty iceberg and thus defeat nature. About the only thing she does defeat, though, is the lining of Max's throat as he drinks hot as all get-out water. Frustrated that monster movies waste so much time on humans before getting to the monster, Tom and Crow give us their own monster movie pitch in an attempt to solve these potential issues. Tom's is surely a depressing art house feature with monster feelings, but Crow suggests a real crowd pleaser, the broest of all bro movies, Brozilla. Summer blockbuster, here we come. Next up, Tom presents his new fall clothing line, the Style of Hollow Mountain. Crow models a sombrero with a too short chin strap. GPC has braids and a ruffled dress. Jonah has striped pants, a red sash, and a single button on his button-up top. Max and Kinga declare they love it, hate it, respectively. Still no sign of the beast. At movie break, Tom and Crow are having a parade of their own. A haunting tune plays while they wear costumes and masks that look very much like the ones from the movie. The ever-playing jaunty melody with these silent masked figures walking in circles around the satellite of love with no explanation or interaction is just too much for our host and his tormentors. Jonah lashes out verbally. Max asks who needs to be killed to appease these figures. Tears, yells, anguish, horror. The culmination, in fact, of all great parades. Let's wrap with a brainstorm of movies that would be better with a dinosaur. My Dinner with Andre, but with dinosaurs? I mean, that's almost as awesome as Pride and Prejudice and zombies. Oh, wait, actually, no, it's better? And it hasn't been made yet? Inconceivable! What do you think, sirs?
Now, Charlotte, I have to ask you something about this episode and how you responded to it, because I know about you. I've watched movies with you. I've watched episodes of MST3K with you. And so I need to know whether Pancho's death made you cry.
No.
Did Panchito's reaction to Pancho's death make you cry?
No.
Oh, wow.
Did the death of the beast of Hollow Mountain make me cry? No. I'm sorry. There's just no emotional resonance inside of this movie. Had something happened to Sarita's hair, I might have shed some tears. Her hair was on point the whole movie. I love her hair.
You liked it better than the braids that the other woman had?
Oh, way better than the braids. Way better than the braids. Although the braids were pretty spectacular, especially with the ribbons inside of them. I disagree with our riffers. I think you can wear braids at any age. Like, let's not make that kind of judgment, everybody. If you want to wear braids in your hair, you go ahead and do it. It looks fabulous.
Sure. Well, I don't know where this new cold-hearted Charlotte has come from, and I don't know if I care for it, but maybe it just says something about the inability of this film that a little 7-year-old boy crying about his dead dad, or missing dad anyways, and not doing a bad job of it. He might be the best actor in the film, I don't know, didn't move your heart.
Certainly he is the best actor in the film. Without question. He got the best lines, too, actually, so.
Oh, yeah, no, they gave him all the good jokes.
They really did. I mean, what jokes there were. Although they did give some really weird, like, pronunciations to Jimmy. Like, he didn't call Felipe, he called him Philippi. I mean, it was really weird. There was a bunch of stuff like that where I'm just like, well, no wonder why they're making fun of your Spanish guy, because, wow, that's not how you pronounce those things.
We're back in season 11. What's it like to be back here?
I mean, it's been a long time since I've watched anything from season 11. As you do with all Netflix things, I binge watched them, even though it wasn't the Gauntlet yet. And so I watched many of these episodes at once, and they kind of bled together for me. I was really happy to be watching just one of them, because Beast of Hollow Mountain was a fun episode.
I mean, I found that it suffered from all the usual things that I and many, many other people have said about season 11, that the jokes are coming a little too fast. It doesn't feel like they're in the room with each other. They're not listening to each other. And that quality of hanging out together is what I like about the riffing in MST3K, more than how funny the jokes are. But the jokes were all pretty funny, and I don't know, it was nice to be back in this space.
I don't mind the fast pace of the riffing. I find that Mike and the bots inside of the sci-fi era also do some of this fast-paced riffing, like they have to fill a lot of space that they don't think the movie is able to fill for them. And frankly, The Beast of Hollow Mountain as a movie doesn't fill a whole lot of space for us. I mean, there's long sequences of people just riding on their horses going, who knows where they're going? We don't even know when they get there, why they're trying to get to where they're going. Sometimes it takes like 15 minutes to find out anything about their reasoning. And I'm glad to have Jonah and the bots there to kind of help us along.
This episode came out in 2017. It came out almost 7 years ago, which I cannot believe because it came out after we started this podcast.
What? Okay, I guess that's true. Oh my gosh.
This podcast started a month before season 11 started.
Aww.
So yeah, the ice bucket challenge jokes felt a little bit dated and so forth.
It's true.
Not in a bad way. Like that's what I love about the show is that it captures different eras at the same time, and it's delightful that way, right? But yeah, it's just funny. It's just funny. It's just funny when things start to show their age, like me. Before we go on to talking about some of the specific topics, I do want to do a very quick lightning round of familiar faces.
Ooh, I don't actually have to guess which ones are familiar faces, right? Because I don't know who's a familiar face inside of this.
There's nobody in this that you would recognize, but some people might. So let's see. Guy Madison plays Jimmy. He has a bit part in a movie that we've talked about many, many times, but which I still haven't watched. Wonton Ton, the dog who saved Hollywood.
Whoa!
Yep. One of these Christmases, we're going to watch that one for our members special, I think.
I think that sounds awesome.
Sarita was played by Patricia Medina, who was, indeed, on an episode of Bonanza.
Thank goodness. I mean, she fits in with the Wild West so perfectly.
Yes.
And I want her to have a trip to Lake Tahoe.
And she did. The kid, Mario Navarro, as Panchito, was also playing a kid in a little film called The Magnificent Seven.
Wow.
And he was in a 1962 biopic called, this is relevant from last episode, Geronimo.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That kid's got a great career. That's pretty odd. What was that all in the span of like 3 years or something?
Yeah, he had a pretty prolific career as a child actor. He didn't stay in the business, but so it goes. Geronimo, by the way, in Geronimo, the film from 1962, was played by Chuck Connors, who got famous from being on a TV show called The Rifleman. And fun fact about Chuck Connors that no one's going to care about except a handful of our listeners. Chuck Connors' parents had immigrated to Brooklyn from Newfoundland.
Hey, look at that.
Eduardo Noriega, who plays the evil Enrique Rios, he had a small role in Zorro the Gay Blade.
Whoa. That movie is phenomenal. I love it.
He was also in the Geronimo movie, by the way.
Look at that.
The guy who plays Pancho is named Pascual Garcia Peña, and he was in a bunch of movies, was a big character actor.
And I assume this is his character, right? Like the town drunk, the lonely widower.
I assume so, but I haven't seen any of the other ones. One of the other films that he was in was a film called Luchadoras versus the Robot Assassin, which was directed by Rene Cardona.
Ooh, I would watch that movie. Wrestlers versus robots?
Rene Cardona of Batwoman and Santo and the Treasure of Dracula and Santa Claus fame.
He's hitting all of our MST3K favorites. Well, not all of them, but
He has contributed to the MST3K canon, indeed. And one last one, Carlos Rivas, who plays Felipe, had a long career as well. He had a small part in a film called The King and I.
What?
Yep, just a small role. He was in an episode of Bonanza.
I mean, everyone deserves a trip to Lake Tahoe. So, yeah.
He was in a movie called The Black Scorpion, which was riffed in season 1 and which we have not done yet.
Oh, so future me gets to see that.
Yeah, he'll be a familiar face then. And he also had a notable role in the notoriously awful 1968 made-for-TV kinda movie, They Saved Hitler's Brain.
Oh, how notoriously awful is it, Chris?
I mean, it makes the list of worst movie ever made all the time, along with Plan 9 and things like that.
Just because of the content, or?
Apparently, it's just a bad movie. I don't know.
Fair enough. There's so much that makes a bad movie. Who can say?
He actually had 2 roles in the movie, I'm told. I haven't seen this, but our good buddy Ned from By the Bywater pointed this out to me just before we started recording. So I guess I have to finally watch it. I've heard, of course, of They Saved Hitler's Brain, but it never made it to the top of my to-watch pile for some reason. Well, there are 2 notable things in this movie. One of them is cows, and the other one is a dinosaur. And which do you want to talk about first?
I don't feel like our listeners should have to wait, like everyone did, until the last 15 minutes of the movie to see the dinosaur and talk about the dinosaur. We should start with the dinosaur.
All right, let's talk about some dinosaurs. Now, we already did talk about dinosaurs once in our episode on King Dinosaur, but that was way back in the day, and it was Beth and Adam talking, so you and I haven't talked on this podcast about dinosaurs. There's probably a little bit more we could say about them, especially dinosaurs in the Old West.
Yeah, famously, cowboys and dinosaurs coexisting in the Old West. I mean, as evidenced by such movies as The Beast of Hollow Mountain.
And The Valley of Guanji, the other movie about cowboys and dinosaurs hanging out together in the Old West.
The other movie about it. I mean, there's also kids shows like Dino Ranch where you have kids and dinosaurs working together to herd herbivore dinosaurs for who knows what end. It doesn't really come up inside of the animated feature, so.
Wow. And that's Old West themed?
They have a ranch. The ranch has dinosaurs on it. The kids saddle up on, Tyrannosauruses and other smaller versions, right? Because they're kids. They have to have smaller versions of the dinosaurs. And they run around and do things on the ranch, like provide shade for the big, Apatosauruses. And there's all of these apple trees for some reason. I don't really understand. It's like an apple ranch, but they also have dinosaurs. Anyway, Dino Ranch.
If I've learned one thing from Super Mario Brothers, it's that dinosaurs love apples.
It's true. And they like to be your pack animals so that you can ride on top of them and travel throughout the land.
Yeah. Well, that's a TV series, though.
It's true. It's not the same as a reality movie teaching us about the Old West and dinosaurs. I've never watched The Valley of Guanji. How does that movie work?
Let me tell you the plot summary real quick. I guess spoilers for The Valley of Guanji. T.J. Breckenridge runs a rodeo down in Mexico, which isn't doing so well, but she's not worried because Suitor has found a new star attraction, a tiny, tiny horse.
A tiny horse?
Or rather, it's an Eohippus, which we're told in the movie is an ancestor of today's modern horses from about 50 million years ago. Turns out the little guy's from a secluded valley nearby where dinosaurs still roam the land. And an American guy who TJ has had an on-again, off-again relationship with, who's played by James Franciscus of City on Fire, Space Travelers, Killer Fish fame. Yeah. Anyway, he manages to nab a T-Rex living there called Guanji, and TJ makes him a star attraction in her rodeo. And spoilers, it goes about as well as King Kong.
Ooh. That sounds like the future of Jurassic Park, right? Like all of the Jurassic Park movies end up leading towards a world where the dinosaurs leave the secluded island and take over the world because it turns out they're better predators than we are.
I mean, what it's really like is King Kong.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
And in fact, it's based on an idea that Willis O'Brien, the guy who did the special effects for King Kong, came up with. He was inspired, in turn, by Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World, which also went on to inspire Lost Continent, which was another movie that MST3K looked at, about a place where dinosaurs are still living for some reason.
I'm not sure why, but it seems to be a common fantasy that there is a piece of the prehistoric world that exists somewhere on this planet, and we just have to find it, and we can see what dinosaurs were really like, despite the fact that millions of years would have caused them to change.
Well, it's because of Arthur Conan Doyle writing this really great novel, apparently. I haven't read it, called The Lost World, which inspired a bunch of these. And in fact, it's worth noting that people think that the special effects in Lost Continent were sort of subcontracted out to the Beast of Hollow Mountain guys, Edward Nassur and his team. So these things are all connected. But that's not about cowboys.
No, you're right. That's not about cowboys. Well, I mean, it's no, it's not really about cowboys.
Yeah. O'Brien was in talks to do effects for Beast of Hollow Mountain, but that didn't quite work out. And he then died before Valley of Gwangi was made in 1969, which feels far too late for this film to be made, but whatever.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs and Cowboys really feels like a late 50s kind of thing, but what are you going to do? And the Valley of Gwangi does a thing correctly, which the Beast of Hollow Mountain failed to do, which is it solves the problem of not getting to the cool effects until the last 15 minutes of the film.
That is sort of a problem, right?
It is. The Valley of Gwangi comes up with this very good idea of having the Eohippus, of having this adorable little tiny stop animation horse be in the first half of the film and be super cute before you reveal the dinosaurs at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It absolutely satisfies that itch of like, when are we going to see the dinosaurs? Like, no, you've seen something cool and cute. And the special effects were done by the great Ray Harryhausen.
Oh, he's so good.
He is so good. Of course he's good. Everybody knows this.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
One thing I will say, if anybody is thinking about watching The Valley of Gwangi, is that it is... I mean, it's certainly better than The Beast of Hollow Mountain. It's not a terrible film. It's not a great film. It is a kind of brutal film.
What do you mean?
Well, so Gwangi is captured and put on the show, and he breaks out, and he doesn't immediately go after the people because he's distracted by this elephant, which he brutally brutalizes to death.
Oh.
And then in order to stop Gwangi from rampaging, they sort of lure him into a cathedral, get everybody out of the cathedral, and then set the pews on fire, and he burns to death in this cathedral. And if the death of the Beast of Hollow Mountain didn't get to you, Gwangi's death scene probably would. It is rough, and he is not having... You don't see, like, gore or anything. You're not seeing, like, flesh burning or something. But you are seeing him crying out in agony and sadness as he's dying, and it goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the death scene from The Beast of Hollow Mountain feels comical, right? It feels like the world is swallowing up the beast into the swamp, right? And yeah, it does not strike a tender note in any sort of way. But yeah, luring a beast to its death and setting it on fire, yeah, that's a lot. Whew.
I'll also add, sort of based on something you said before, that in the Valley of Gwangi, our hero, James Franciscus, hires a local boy as a guide.
Mm-hmm.
The local boy's name is Lope, which he insists on pronouncing Lopi.
Oh, I don't understand.
And I was looking up to see what happened to that kid. He went on to be on a big TV show, but also he was played by an actor named Curtis Arden. Because this Mexican boy was a British actor.
What?
Hey, these things happen, okay?
Yes, they happened a lot, apparently. That's why the gentleman who plays Felipe can be in The King and I, which does not take place in the Western Hemisphere. Wow.
Yeah, he's playing with Rita Moreno.
Yes, there's that. Who has fabulous hair.
Anyway, so that's the other cowboy dinosaur movie. It's fine. I don't know how much potential this idea actually had.
Dinosaurs in the Old West?
I feel like Dino Ranch kind of is the ultimate expression of this. That just seems more interesting.
Well, we talked about dinosaurs, Chris, so we got the monster out of the way, but you said we also get to talk about cows.
There were so many cows in this film.
There were so many cows in the film. Cows were a plot point.
They were a plot point. I didn't really talk about the cows and the stampede that happens in my plot summary, but it was there and it was great and lots of cows. Not, you don't really get to hang out with the cows. They're not anybody's best friend, but you do get to see them and think about them.
They're nobody's best friend, unlike the Beast of Hollow Mountain. Our best friend, the dinosaur.
So I watched this movie and I thought, cows, they're neat, and I don't know enough fun facts about them. So I'm going to learn some fun facts about cows. And I thought, I'm going to take two prongs on this approach. I'm going to ask Charlotte to go do some research and find some fun facts. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to just tell me some fun facts about cows, and we'll see which of them is the most exciting. We're going back to Issues with AI.
Issues with AI.
And the issue is cows.
So, Chris, do I get to start or does AI get to start?
I think that you should start.
All right, here is my first fun fact about cows. Cows have a 4-chambered stomach. The first 3 break down the food ingested with various bacteria and pulverizing techniques, while the 4th stomach is where nutrient absorption finally occurs. Curious to see inside? Some universities, like the University of California, Davis, have fistulated cows. That is, cows with a hole in their side to let you see right into the digestive process. And if you attend picnic day in April, they may even let you reach into the chamber of the cow's stomach and pull out a handful of partially digested grass. This seems to be a highlight in many people's memories for the event, along with a parade through downtown Davis.
Amazing. I knew about the 4-chambered stomach, of course.
Of course.
That's the thing that you get told as a kid, and it's really wild and fun. And I knew about the cows with the holes where you could see through them, though I've never done it. It sounds super gross, and I don't want to, but I'm glad it's out there for people who do want to. Here's my question. If I had a 4-chambered stomach, would I be able to tell which stomach chamber just burped?
Ooh.
Is that how burps work? I don't know. This is not the burp podcast, so I'm going to write into Sawbones and ask them about this.
I think you totally should. As I understand the cow's stomachs, the first 3 chambers, in the first chamber, the food goes in and then it comes back up for more chewing. Then it goes down into the second chamber and then comes back up for more chewing. And then it goes down into the third, comes back up. But after that, it goes into the 4th for nutrient absorption and then out the other end. So if I had to make my guess, and I am no cow expert, I did not study anything cow related inside of any of my studies, it seems like the burps would only come from the first 3. The first stomach's the one that has the most bacteria. The others do more kind of a crushing thing. So my guess would be, if I had to prioritize, the first stomach's the one where the burps come from. But I would be happy to learn more about that.
All right, listeners, if any of you are in fact cowologists, please get in touch. Here's AI's first fact about cows. In the Wild West era, longhorns were the popular breed of cattle, known for their distinctive horns that could span up to 7 feet. These horns served a dual purpose, helping the cattle navigate dense brush and deterring predators, making them a symbol of resilience on the frontier.
Ooh, a 7-foot horn span sounds amazing.
I think I saw that some of them actually reach 8, but, 7 is still pretty amazing.
I mean, if you go to university in Texas, they do have the Longhorns as their mascot. And, hook 'em horns is indeed still a thing.
Yeah, there you go. I did fact check these as best I could, and that one seems basically all true. So
nice.
Good job, ChatGPT. Not too bad. 7 feet is pretty interesting.
Awesome. Cow fact number 2 from me. Their 4-chambered stomach is not the only thing that helps cows digest their food. They also produce saliva, much like we do, to help break down food while chewing. According to the Oregon State University Dairy Bearing blog, an adult cow can produce between 25 to 38 gallons of saliva a day.
What do they do with it? What's their plan?
So they have 2 things they have to do with it. One is to moisten the food so that it chews much easier. But the other thing is, because they regurgitate their food and chew it more, when it comes up, it's really acidic because of the stomach acids. So having a lot of saliva helps to combat that high pH, or rather that low pH, because it's really acidic. So that's what the saliva is doing. It's helping to make sure that you don't have too much acid in your mouth when you're chewing things a second time.
Huh. Neat. Okay,
right?
That's interesting. That's pretty good. Let's see if AI can compare with that. Cows are highly social animals and form close friendships within their herds. Research has shown that when cows are separated from their best buddies, they display signs of distress, such as increased heart rates and vocalizations. The social nature extends beyond mere companionships. Cows with strong social bonds often work together to navigate their surroundings and protect each other from potential threats, highlighting the depth of their social intelligence.
Ooh, Chat GPT totally just preempted my fun fact number 4.
Oh!
Cows have besties.
Cows do have besties.
They have besties.
So a lot of cow behavioral science has come from the dairy industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because stressed cows, they aren't as milky. They don't make as much milk. So you want to generally keep your cows at a certain level of comfort, and socialization is part of that. Although I was trying to find out any corroborating evidence for this claim that cows work together to navigate their surroundings, and I couldn't find any proof of that. In fact, I found an article that suggested that cows can't teach each other how to navigate weird situations. So that I don't know about. I'm not enough of an expert to categorically say that's not true, but like that may not be as fun and friendly as ChatGPT made it sound like it would be.
That's true. Well, when I was reading about it, because cows having best friends was totally one of the fun facts that I found as well. They talked about how a lot of the original research they did for cows was about how to lower the aggression of cows, right? How to have more complacent cows when you're breeding cows, and to take that, the activities that they would do that actually would be threatening each other. That was the original line of research. And then as they started having cows living in larger and larger social groups on larger and larger ranches, they started noticing some of the more positive effects that socialization was giving them.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And of course, they found out that having lower stress levels increases milk production. So it turns out to be a win-win. You let cows be with their best friends and they actually produce more milk for you. But it was also the case in what I was reading that cows who are separated from their friends, like they bear grudges and they remember it.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's also that. There's a dark side to friendship for cows.
I mean, that's reasonable. I don't think that's dark.
Well,
You took my friend from me, I'm going to remember you? That seems not dark. That seems like the right and just thing to do. Cows, you have a good point. Don't let Charlie talk you down from that.
oh, no. I'm just saying it's a dark side. Dark sides are still there. We don't have to get rid of the dark side. We could just acknowledge it.
All right. Well, okay. So that was your other one. Let me get...
I want to go next. ChatGPT preempted me. I should get the chance to preempt back.
Okay, go for it.
So this was my fun fact number 3, because, I already got my number 4 preempted. Number 3, cows are really good swimmers. Surprising, right? Given you probably think of cows standing in grassy fields near a trickle of a stream at best. So where are cows getting all this swimming experience? It seems the ability is an instinctual one that calves know from birth, but cows have been known to swim many, many miles. In 2021 in the Netherlands, a cow was caught in an extreme flood and swam for 100 kilometers, about 62 miles in deep water before being rescued by emergency service workers. Once reunited with its owner, the cow was granted the gift of living out the rest of its days in a pasture without becoming a meal.
And that cow's name was Heifer Williams. That's really adorable. I mean,
Really?
I'm not super... No, it wasn't really named that. I'm not super surprised that cows can swim because lots of other mammals can swim from birth, but it's not something I've ever thought about, and it's adorable.
Yeah, but think of a cow. It's like this enormous, central body area torso, and then it's got these little spindly legs. But apparently those spindly legs are really strong and can allow these cows to swim long distances. I never would have guessed.
Well, it's also filled with methane, and that's lighter than water, right? So I guess it would float a bit with that.
Helps
I don't know.
float.
But no, it's true. I've never thought about swimming cows. That's wonderful. Okay, here is one from ChatGPT. Cows have a magnetic personality, or at least a magnetic sense. A study found that cattle align themselves with the Earth's magnetic field when grazing or resting. While the exact reason behind this behavior is not fully understood, it adds a fascinating layer to the mysterious world of bovine navigation.
Does that mean that when I look at a field of cows, this AI is telling me that the cows will all be facing in the same direction?
That is what that means, but it's not true is the thing. Well, or rather it is true, because there was a study that came out around 2008 that made a bunch of headlines about cows facing along the magnetic field. But the thing is that once the study comes out, other people try to replicate the results. And that didn't go so well. And then people analyzed the original study's data and said that they were really cherry-picking the results. In short, no. Cows do not seem to have any magnetic sense. Some animals do, cows don't.
Man.
Interesting but wrong, ChatGPT.
Yeah. How interesting, though. I wonder what happened in that first study or what other variables there were that allowed that to be, correlated.
Oh, I'll have a link.
Excellent.
I'm not going to mention it now, but the link will explain.
Excellent.
It's a scientific. It's from Nature, so it's got details.
Nice.
All right, you have one more?
Yeah, I have one more. Cows have featured in many stories, usually involving cow tipping or herding, but in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Adventure of the Priory School, cow tracks were used to throw off any pursuit. The kidnappers of a schoolboy shoed their horses with shoes that mimicked the tracks of cows. This made detecting their presence very difficult, since any observer would not think the cow tracks were indicative of anything other than a herd of cows. But Sherlock Holmes noted the lack of cow presence on the moors they were exploring for signs of the missing child. This, among other clues no one else could possibly have noticed, led to the finding of the child and the capture of the criminals.
That couldn't possibly have worked. Horses gallop.
Yes, and that was part of what Sherlock Holmes noticed that nobody else would, was the placement of the hooves and a placement of feet that cows simply aren't capable of and horses are. But he did acknowledge that he really wanted to shake the hand of the criminal that thought of it, because it was like this amazing thing to cover your tracks, literally to make different tracks so that you couldn't be caught doing your nefarious deeds.
No, that is super fun. And if I had a horse, I would be out there looking for little cow booties and other type of animal booties, elephant booties and whatnot, to try to see what I could get up to mischief-wise. I wouldn't try to kidnap. I would just try to freak people out.
It's true. Although if you saw a bunch of elephant tracks in the middle of Toronto, I think people might suspect that they were being played.
Unless it was near the zoo.
That's so true.
Okay. I'm excited because, as you mentioned in your summary of the episode, in the final sketch, when they're talking about movies that would potentially be improved with dinosaurs, they bring up My Dinner with Andre. And this gave me the excuse to finally rewatch My Dinner with Andre, a movie that I saw 20 years ago and quite liked and have wanted to show to my husband for 10 years. But sometimes, even if it's at the top of the to-watch pile, you just never make the time, you know?
I know, because I've never seen this movie, Chris.
Well, you should. And you can wait till I'm out there next time. I'll watch it again with you. It'll be fun. But I love this movie so much. And yeah, MST3K once again gave me an excuse to watch something, which is what this podcast is all about. My Dinner with Andre. Would it be better with dinosaurs? Maybe, but it's pretty good on its own.
What was it 20 years ago that really grabbed your attention about it? Because the movie's from the very early 80s, and you watched it when it was already 20 years old or so. So what was it that gripped you so much the first time you watched it?
I watched it because the person I was dating at the time really loved the movie and wanted me to watch it. So I guess this is, payback. And he wanted me to watch it because he was a director of experimental theater. And the film is largely about experimental theater. It's about Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory having dinner together, and Andre talking about some of the wild things he's done over the last few years when he kind of dropped out from his acting career, his theater career, and went off and did these strange sounding experimental theater experiences that, are they theater? Are they not? What is theater? That's sort of where the movie begins. And they just talk
And presumably Wallace Shawn is involved with theater as well, but just hasn't done experimental theater.
Wallace Shawn has also been doing theater, but he is much more doing traditional theater stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a lot more skeptical of some of the wilder claims that Andre is making.
Okay.
But actually, it's kind of amazing. I guess this is a small spoiler, sort of. But in the first hour of the movie, Wallace Shawn's character, Wally, is just asking questions to get the other guy to talk and reacting to them. It is amazing acting. It is so good just to see Wallace Shawn looking at this guy who's talking this artist types. And artist types when they have done something that is ludicrous and are explaining it to you. I've been that guy to you sometimes.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
And sometimes they're talking about this and you're just kind of nodding and going uh-huh. Of course. Then you all went out to Long Island, and of course you all spent some time in this famous artist's mansion, and of course you were all wearing all white for a weekend because that just seemed like the thing you had to do. This totally makes sense.
Yes.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so, Wallace Shawn just does such a great job, just sort of nodding and being like, and then asking follow-up questions. And it's so awkward. But eventually the conversation moves on to sort of bigger questions about how to be authentic in the world.
Wow.
My husband got incredibly frustrated with the movie because they both, Andre in particular, have big boomer energy.
Oh,
they talk about how the 60s were the last time that anybody really had a chance of seeing the world as it really was. All that kind of stuff.
Yep.
They talk about how wonderful and exotic foreign cultures are.
Ooh.
And, in Tibet, you can go over to your friend's house and have tea and you don't have to talk unless there's something to say. And isn't that beautiful? And shouldn't we be more like them? It's got, I don't love the movie because it is two people who are doing good philosophy. I love the movie because it is a weirdly tense 2-hour-long conversation where things build up into, and it's not quite a fight scene, but it has that kind of energy where tension is building in the most unlikely ways, and things reach a point and then they kind of resolve. It's not like a perfect resolution or anything, but they both kind of walk away from the evening having hurt each other, and that's what you're going to get. And you have a whole character arc through it. It's stunning. Movies should not work like this. It's absolutely amazing. I love this movie so much. And of course I do. I went on to make podcasts, right?
It is sort of what we're doing right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, the movie is entirely scripted, but it is just two people having a conversation for 2 hours at a restaurant.
That was one of the things that when I was reading about it, because I couldn't find it streaming anywhere to watch it, one of the questions that came up a lot was, is this improv'd? Right? There's such an expectation now that there are lots of scenes inside of movies that nobody bothered to write a script for, or everybody thought the script was crap and they just improv'd the whole thing. And of course, both of these gentlemen are incredibly talented actors that had been working for a long period of time. They probably could have filmed a 2-hour conversation with them and it would have been fine, but it wouldn't have had as much, I don't know, it wouldn't have been as dynamic, and it wouldn't have been such a slice of friendship. But there were lots of people who were very surprised that it wasn't an improv, that it was very carefully scripted, because it felt so genuine in their eyes.
Yeah. And it is based off the two people's real lives, even though they insist it was fictional. And it was a bit, but, lots of touchstones.
Sure, it's fictional the way that some fiction is, where it's, highly inspired by someone's life. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But while I'm sure just putting the cameras on them and having them talk for 2 hours would have been interesting, it wouldn't have had this unlikely sense of a structure to it.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have felt like a traditional movie structure told entirely through a conversation, which is just an astonishing trick. And I want to see more movies like this.
So here's the big question though, Chris. Where would the dinosaur come in?
Well, in the sketch, the dinosaurs are the waiters.
Well, yeah, and then Wallace Shawn becomes essentially Chris Pratt in a Jurassic Park movie and is working against the dinosaurs and with the dinosaurs in a struggle for the dominance of humanity. I mean, it becomes an entirely different thing. Conversation be damned. We're here to fight dinosaurs.
Exactly. So if after the quails came out, the waiters all ripped off their human masks and revealed themselves to be velociraptors, the film could have taken an entirely different direction. I mean, that could be amazing. It would be amazing. It would be a very different film, but it could also be an amazing film. Would I watch that film? Sure, why not? Would it be good? It probably wouldn't be as good as the film we have, but I would still go see it.
Chris, I would just argue it'd be good in an entirely different way.
Fun fact, at one point, when Wallace Shawn is exasperated by the wild ideas that Andre is putting forth, he is ranting in response, and he's having difficulty putting his words together and expressing exactly why he finds this idea so incorrect. And he's just like, what you're saying, that's inconceivable.
Oh, he does not say that.
He does.
He just can't help himself. Was My Dinner with Andre before or after The Princess Bride?
It was a few years before it.
Oh, well, gosh. I read the book that Carrie Elwes wrote, a book called As You Wish, and it was about the filming of The Princess Bride. And he has lots and lots of funny anecdotes about things that happened on the set. He said that Wallace Shawn had a really miserable time on set at The Princess Bride, if I'm remembering correctly, because he never felt like he was giving a good performance, and he never felt like he was getting the feedback that he needed in order to deliver the performance that he wanted to, and that it was just a really frustrating filming experience for him, which in my mind is so sad because he's one of my favorite parts of that entire movie. Like he's phenomenal in his like rapid fire of all of the lines, with his explosions of anger, with trying to control everything. I mean, he's just so amazing in it that it's hard for me to believe that he wasn't having the absolute time of his life that everybody else looks like they're having on set.
Well, it worked out for him.
I hope so. I mean, I enjoy Wallace Shawn now as he does so much voice acting inside of Pixar movies. I especially remember him as the teeny tiny boss in The Incredibles. He's the guy who says, "I'm not happy, Bob. Ask me why I'm not happy. Be specific." And he's so good. He's like the best boss. And he gets to have the line, "Complaints I can handle. But your customers, they're penetrating the bureaucracy." I mean, it's so good. And of course, I know where the dinosaurs come in. He plays the dinosaur. He's the dinosaur toy in Toy Story. The one with the huge amounts of anxiety. That's Wallace Shawn.
There you go. He is Rex.
Wow. Yep, Wallace Shawn, T-Rex. Why were there velociraptors at My Dinner with Andre? Because they're trying to get back at the T-Rex for killing them at the end of Jurassic Park. There it goes. It's all full circle. If you've been affected by the issues on this show, if you've got any fun cow facts you want to share with us, or if you'd like to ask us anything, get in touch with us. Our email is info@itsjustashow.com, and we would love to hear from you. This show is made possible by listeners like you, and like our randomly selected supporter, Christian. Thank you, Christian. For as little as $1 an episode, you too can be like Christian and help us research and record this show. You can join us in a friendly Discord, and you can listen to all of our super fan bonus bits. Find out more at itsjustashow.com/Patreon or patreon.com/itsjustashow. And if you want to follow up on anything that was mentioned today, you'll find links in our show notes at itsjustashow.com/episode/149. We can't keep talking about dinosaurs forever, can we, Chris? What are we doing next time?
Well, we might be able to, because next time we're looking at Season 4, Episode 19, The Rebels set, with the short Johnny at the Fair.
Excellent. Well, I don't remember much about the Rebels set, although it kind of sounds like it might be about, I don't know, beatniks and motorcycles and all of the things that have been promised to us in movies but never delivered. Perhaps there'll even be some, like, teenagers or something. I don't know. Do you remember much about the Rebel set to help remind our listeners what's coming up?
Well, as we mentioned, the Rebel set is indeed the movie that I always think of when I'm trying to think of the Beatniks. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I remember liking this one. We'll find out. This is the episode where Crow orders the record where you practice your acting. It is co-starring with Scott Baio, you.
Stop.
It's also the one that's got Crow and Tom in bed, and they've got their names written on it, Bert and Ernie style.
Oh my gosh. There's so much to love about this episode already.
There you go. Well, I am looking forward to seeing it again, but until then...
Kind of early to ride off into the sunset, but okay.
Why is it never slow sand, only quicksand? Take it away, Theme Squad.
They had